Hey, what's going on, everybody? So what I explained in the last video was the difference between the back end and the front end. This video right here, I want to talk about the ecosystem that makes up web development. There's languages on the front end and back end that you'll learn, so that way you're able to talk to the computer and let it know what you want to do on both. All right, so basically just simple enough, right? We have the front end. The first language is called HTML. That is the very first language that you're going to learn to put a web page together. What HTML is, okay, is just like the text on this website. I'm going to show you an example here. So this is ESPN, okay? You see all this text and everything, and you see how beautiful it looks, and you've got everything all aligned. This is what this same website looks like with just HTML, all right? No styling. If you can believe that, okay? We're going to go to the very top. This is what this looks like. Like, look, like you have top events right here. Over here you have top events, okay? It might surprise you, but without styling a page, this is just HTML, okay? So it's literally just throwing on the text, the images, the videos, everything that you want for content before any of the styling. Now, and it's also known as hypertext markup language, but you'll never hear of it like that. It's just HTML. So the second one is CSS. Now CSS is what makes this right here, right? It makes what this go to this. It's literally, it's what, when you style the HTML, this is how good you can make it, all right? And it starts out pretty plain and not very good looking at all. So the CSS is what we're gonna learn. It's what's on the front page, so that way, or on the front end, so that way we can make websites look really good. The next one is JavaScript. That's also a front-end language. And JavaScript is, like, let me show you an example. See how it says subscribe now here? If you were to click this, it's going to probably ask you for an email, okay? That's still front-end, but once you send that email off, right, once you say, subscribe now with the email, that's going to get sent off to the back end. That action of you being able to click and then something happened is JavaScript. So think of it like a video game, and actually use JavaScript scripts for Unity to do this, and C# both. But JavaScript is basically like video games where you walk into a room and then something happens, right? So you walk into a boss room and all of a sudden like a cutscene happens and you see like the boss coming up. Something, when you step on it and it triggers, that is what JavaScript does for the web and for buttons, and for like if you hover over something and you want something to generate on the page or track a click or anything, okay? So that's what JavaScript is. We're going to learn how to write all those. So that is the front end. Now the back end also has its own set of languages, okay? So there's tons of them. What we're going to learn, though, is we're going to learn Node.js. All Node.js is just code that we write for the back end. So when something happens in the front end and something gets sent back and we want to do something with it, whether we want to like check it for any viruses, any errors, right, any bugs, like we want to make sure that if we had somebody send over a currency which was just numbers only, we want to double check for that. So we write code to double check for things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a complete example on how HTML and CSS tie into JavaScript, which then ties into Node.js and gets sent back. And then the reason why we would even send code there anyways, and what it can do for us. Check this out. What I'm about to explain to you right now is something I wish somebody would have told me a long time ago. How all these connect, and just a very simple explanation, so that way I had a foundation to build on. And that's why I wanted to make this this video, this course, everything. So check this out. I want to show you how all these languages work together, just right off the bat here, okay? So check this out. So let's go with HTML. HTML, we create the button, okay? This button is going to say subscribe now, okay? And then we're also going to have an input. So, like on a website, somebody will have you fill out a form. So you'll put in like your email address here. This is, for like a newsletter or something. Now, if you want to make the button look good, like you want to add a color to it, okay? So this right here is HTML so far. All right, and this is what it looked like on a website when we'll start to code out our website together. Okay, so let's say that we have a background of blue. Now we just use CSS. So we've already done the HTML. We've wrote out the buttons. Okay, we have the CSS now, which is a nice blue color. Now, here's where JavaScript comes into play. JavaScript is when we take our mouse and we simply double click, click once, whatever, on the subscribe now button. What happens is JavaScript wakes up from the internet and goes, oh, okay, you click something. Okay, so that's what JavaScript does. JavaScript knows like when you trigger something. You ever walk into you ever play a video game, you walk into a boss room, okay, and then the boss, like the cutscene happens, and then you see the boss like come up out of somewhere before you actually have to fight him or whatever. So basically anything that is a trigger, that's what JavaScript does. Okay, JavaScript recognizes that you do an action on the website, and then it'll do something, whatever you tell it to do. So basically what we're telling JavaScript is, hey, when we click subscribe now, go ahead and send this to our backend, which has Node.js sitting on it. So this is our backend, okay? So this is our backend. And it'd be like a backend server that you would have like at Amazon, right? You can rent these. Later on, we'll host one for free so that way you can see how this works. But basically, it's just a place where we can write code. Code literally lives on these servers and it waits for something. So what's going to happen is JavaScript sends this over, and what is it sending over? Well, all it sends over is what we ask it to. So in this case, we just want the email at gmail.com. Now, remember, this is all secret code sitting on the back end. Nobody can see this. So now we can check, hey, is this an email, right? We can check, does it have numbers in it? Right? Like, is it like dot numbers or something? Is somebody trying to like scam us? Did somebody really put in what we asked them to put in? This is where we check for those errors, because this is where we have code that nobody can tamper with. Okay, that is why the backend is so important. So no matter what you put on the client side, okay, you could tell it what you want to do, but this is where the security also lives. Okay, so basically, we'll go here. So right, we have the HTML and CSS, we have the JavaScript that sent this back. When we hit subscribe now, a trigger happened, it sent it back. Node.js, all right, we wrote some Node.js code so that way we could get this value, which is email@gmail.com. That's what Node.js does. Okay, it gets values, or it does anything we want to check for in the back end, stuff like that. Now, what if we want to like save it to a database? All right, so you often see them like cylinders. I'm just going to do this just for simplicity. Okay, so basically, let's say that we want to save this. So we want to take this email now with Node, and let's say we want to save it. Right, we do some kind of thing on the back end where we're like save email at gmail.com, right, to the database. All right, that's something all we can put on the back end server. Now when it sits now when we put it back there like on the database, what we can do is, now that we have it saved, when this person, just like an ESPN, right, like if I log in right here, it's going to know who I am next time I log in. And the reason is because now that like we sent this over, what we can do is on our website over here that has this button on it, I'll try to fit this all in. So let's say this button's on, this is our website right here, right? So we have like our little like icon for our website, and this is usually where it'd be like, hi, Tom. What we can do is next time the user comes in, we can go ahead and ask for the email at gmail.com from the database over to where hi Tom is. So I really just kind of want to wrap up here where I have, first we have HTML, CSS, right? We built this, we built the button, okay? So those are off of our list, okay? So we have HTML, CSS. Now, the user comes to the site and action happens, because remember, JavaScript actions happen on triggers, right? So somebody coming to a site, that can be an action, and you'll see how we're going to do that later. So an action happens, that's JavaScript. So we're writing code for this to send and use Node.js. So we're sending code to the backend to say, hey, get who is ever on the site. Right now, whoever on the site is, if somebody's logged in, go ahead and get that information. Okay, this is Node.js, okay, on the backend server. Node.js is going to ask the database, hey, who is this? Who's back on our site again? We want to welcome them. Okay, give them some data, whatever their preferences are. Okay, so Node.js talks to the database. The database gives back Tom, whoever it is. Okay, back to Node, and then Node goes, okay, here is some data. So it sends it back, all right, through that JavaScript portal. All right, and then through HTML and CSS, it displays it on the page because we got text. And if we want to style it with like some large, right, that would be like CSS, right? So if we want to start styling it, changing color, right? So that is how it works. That is literally how the loop works. So hopefully that gives you a good understanding of the whole web development ecosystem and how it all works. And trust me, if you're confused at all, we're going to be like doing repetitions. So you are going to get this stuff down. We're going to make it super intuitive, very, very simple, very simple projects and ways for you to understand this, and then we're going to put something together that's going to be amazing and that you can work on as well to add on to.